What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Fast and Furious film, The Fate of the Furious. The Fate of the Furious is directed by F. Gary Gray, who recently did Straight Outta Compton. The film stars all of the classic members of the crew: Vin Diesel, The Rock, Michelle Rodriguez, all of them, along with new additions of Scott Eastwood and a larger role played by Jason Statham. It is the 8th installment in the Fast and Furious series. I don't know if the guy that wrote Fast and Furious back in 2001 was like, this'll end up being a movie about cyber terrorists who try to steal nukes, when he was writing a script about street racing, but that's where we are now. This film picks up following the 7th film, and Vin Diesel along with the rest of the crew are pulled in to do a job, and of course something goes wrong in this job, and Vin Diesel turns on the crew, and nobody knows why. So this film's mystery is, why would he do this, and what does Charlize Theron, who's playing the villain in this film, have on Vin Diesel to make him be willing to attack his own family? I have to say, following this 7th installment of this series, I was pretty worried. I did not enjoy Furious 7. I thought that it went too over the top, and I suspend my disbelief when I see these movies. You have to. It's the only way you can enjoy them. But I thought 7 did it a little too much. There was some really excessive moments in the action that seemed like they were really pushing the boundaries of whether I could believe this, even suspending my disbelief as much as I was. This film really pulled it back. There are obviously still extremely over-the-top action sequences in this movie, but they're much more reasonable than I think the past two films have had. It has a better story along with that, and the action. I'm not so much focusing on the car scenes and the chases, because those have always been good in every single series, and they're good in this one too. There's really cool effects and practical moments with mass destruction of things, and this film really relies a lot on practical explosions and actually doing these stunts with real vehicles, and I really appreciated that, because when you're watching the film, it makes it that much more awesome to see, and it makes it feel like that giant blockbuster that it wants to be. But a big thing this movie got really right is the amount of action that's in it. I know Fast 5 was the transition from a street racing film into heist films that were sort of more action-based, but this one, with the addition of Jason Statham playing a larger role, has some really good action scenes, and I think Statham really shines in this film. He has, in my opinion, the best straight-up hand-to-hand combat shooting action sequence that we've ever got. All of the driving sequences, as I said, are good. I don't think anything will ever be able to beat the stealing of the safe in Fast 5, but that's just my personal opinion. Other than that, I think the film did a lot of things really well. The crew is entertaining, they're all back, and everyone does a good job in their roles. The addition of Scott Eastwood was enjoyable. He plays Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody's like new assistant sort of, and he's a funny addition because everyone kind of makes fun of him throughout the whole film for being so green and not knowing anything about what they're supposed to be doing. To add to that, I think they took a good route in telling the story of this film. From the trailers, you get very little knowledge of why any of this is happening, and in the film, they keep you in the dark for a good amount of time before you finally find out what's going on and why this is happening and that's happening. And to be fair, I kind of have to give props to the writers, because they made it seem reasonable. They didn't make me think, okay, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, who would do that? I actually was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense, that's fair. Charlize Theron as a villain was good. I think that all of her dialogue landed really well, and the general vibe of her character was cool, along with the backstory we get. However, the issue with her character, as I feel is the issue with a lot of the villains in the Fast movies, which is why I'm so upset that 7 and 6 went so over the top with their action, because they actually had villains that were physical threats. And that's what always seems to be missing, and I think that's why Fast 5 will and always be the best of all of these films, because you had The Rock along with a threat that wasn't so physical. Where in this film, she's playing a cyber terrorist, and while she definitely has mass control over tons of technology to make for some extremely cool sequences, her character is not a physical threat whatsoever to anyone on the team. It's all psychological and technological advancements that she has control over them from. As I said, the action in this film definitely takes it a step up. However, I think that the earlier action sequences in the film are not exactly directed well. They have some pretty shaky camera, some very quick shots. It's not until you get later in the film that they become to get better, and I also think part of that is because the later sequences in the film, I think, involve more experienced members of the crew. And when I say experienced, I don't mean the character, I mean the actor that is participating in the sequence. So it makes more sense that they would be able to make them look better because you have a person that can do their own stunts and do good action. Honestly, one of the things that annoyed me the most about this film was The Rock's character. I love The Rock. Who doesn't, honestly? The guy is amazing. He's got more energy and charisma than almost anyone else on this planet. And I really enjoy the character of Hobbs. I've liked him in every movie, and I always think that he's always been a little bit of kind of being an over-the-top action hero character. In Furious 7, we get that moment when he like breaks the cast off of his broken arm, and it's just like, no, that's not how that works. But this film, they kind of took it to another level, and they basically make him like a superhero. He's getting shot with rubber bullets, and he's just like absorbing them like they're nothing. He's picking up human beings and chucking them like 10 feet. And it doesn't bother me that much because I know I have to suspend my disbelief with films like this, but it just sort of feels like too much. If you want to have him be really strong and have him be this big tough character, that totally makes sense with the aesthetic you've built around Hobbs, but don't make him like over the top strong where it seems kind of ridiculous, because that's how I felt specifically during one sequence of this film. It's not in entirety every single time, every single scene he's in, I'm like, this is ridiculous. But there's just a few moments in these past few movies that he's been in, none in Fast 5 really, but in 6, 7, and now 8, where I'm just kind of like, is this dude even a human? Because you're building him up like he isn't. The final thing that kind of caught me off guard about this film is the lack of fun dialogue between the crew members. While they all are involved in the story and they all play their own specific role, they don't really have those fun moments that we've had in all of the previous films. And I shouldn't say they don't have them at all, they just have a lot less of them, it feels like. Most of the scenes that they're in are much more serious, and when there is comedy, it's a little more sporadic. And while it does hit usually, they're pretty good jokes, it just sort of felt like there wasn't that same camaraderie. And I know that the story is Vin Diesel turns, but it still sort of felt odd that everyone in the crew wouldn't still seem like they have that love and that family, because family's so damn important in these movies. It doesn't feel like it's there for a lot of scenes that they're involved together. And while I really enjoyed all of the characters, as I always do in the crew, it just sort of felt odd that they didn't have that same camaraderie like they normally do. I'm gonna give The Fate of the Furious a B. Overall, I thought that this movie did exactly what it was trying to do. It was a fun, action-packed summer movie with some funny moments and some cool explosions and dope cars, and that's really all you want from a Fast and Furious movie. I don't think this film is anywhere near as good as Fast 5, and I do think it is better than the last two, though, and I think if they continue in this direction, we could see better Fast and Furious movies for the final two installments, or I guess final two, because Lord knows how long they're going to continue this series. Well, guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of The Fate of the Furious, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.